Okay, so my previous video was a rant. Now that I have gathered my thoughts, while the presidential candidates' trend in ideology seems to be more and more right-wing and more authoritarian, I realized that there's much more to it than just the presidency. The US, of course, exercises separation of powers. There's state rights, so each state has its own legislatures, its own governors. And of course there's the Congress. Now, the Americans have sometimes, on occasion, have this perception that power is very centralized in America, and often they'd be correct, but it's not. There are checks and balances to it, the Congress as well as state governments. Now, the presidency is supposed to reflect the overall mood of the country, whether it's headed towards a progressive direction or a conservative direction. Now, the presidency tends to indicate, as of now, that the United States is moving towards fascism. But I didn't take into consideration that the United States exercises state rights, and some powers are given to Congress. But as far as Congress is concerned, they have a 9% approval rating, and the agenda in Congress is controlled by teabaggers. So then, in a way, President Obama is also influenced by the teabaggers, because he becomes more and more right-wing, because that's what the right wing in Congress demand. So you can say the United States Congress, the Senate, and the House of Representatives are also moving towards authoritarianism and fascism. It's a very disturbing trend indeed. So it's all up to the state governments now, which is why in recent elections, recall elections in Wisconsin, for example, something about collective bargaining rights and unions, etc., etc. That's why local elections are now having more attention paid to them, because we know we can't rely on because the Americans know they cannot really rely on the federal government, as well as the fact that we have to consider that we have separation of powers, as you know. So now I look towards the states, the state governments, to do the right thing. Now, those like Oklahoma and the Deep South and Alaska and Utah, all these conservative states, I'm not relying on them to have the proper kind of government that I want, someone like me would like. I said before, the only place where I would be happy is Vermont, and it continues to prove itself that that's the only state where there's not these fascist-like tendencies. But that might be a little bit unfair. I have to look at the other New England states. Maine has a teabagger governor, but what about Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island? And I'm not sure about California or Hawaii. These are also liberal states. Wisconsin, of course, is headed towards the wrong direction. That was a very progressive state. Illinois suffers from severe corruption, just like here in Indonesia. So there's not a lot of bright spots in the United States for good governance and for proper representative government. There's not a lot of good, bright spots. There are some in some states, not that much though. So now that I've taken all the facts into consideration, yes, I still think the United States is fucked, but there is always that grain of hope as far as local government is concerned. Anyway, thanks for listening.